An evaluation of design changes needed to support sustainability, outlining potential advantages and disadvantages for each. A move to an ethically focused perspective for the organisation following the principles of corporate social responsibility is a key change that Bunnings needs to implement to support sustainability. An emphasis on stakeholders that range from customers, employees, shareholders, community, the environment, and the government should be implemented to secure the long-term future of the organisation, reduce its exposure to risk, and create the foundations for long-term value generation. The current organisational design for Bunnings meets the profit maximising criteria of its owner Wesfarmers. However, there has been criticism that its success and position as Australia's leading hardware retailer has been to the detriment of the wider social, environmental and business environment. The organisation's impact on key stakeholders have not been measured to account for its actual performance. The recommended changes will propose a change in the culture for the organisation that embraces its workforce and considers its impacts on key stakeholders through its supply chain. Reviewing the organisational culture is the first step in this process. Determining the underlying values, assumptions, beliefs, attitudes, and feelings will inform an effective strategy that will need to be implemented for the organisation. In moving to address underlying characteristics that are not in line with the goal of sustainability, management can shape the organisation's identity from within, which will translate to the external environment. The matrix presented describes the interaction of the organisation with the environment. Bunnings sits inside the bureaucratic culture perspective that applies a methodical approach to business, which is focused internally and on stability. To embrace sustainability, an adaptability culture needs to emerge from the organisation, where the focus must move to the external environment that has significant flexibility. Research has found that bureaucratic structures lack flexibility to support sustainability effectively over the long term. The idea of emergent behaviour outlines how traditional rational approaches face challenges in the chaotic environments of today. Adopting an approach that understands the relationships of the parts of the organisations are more effective than a directive approach that attempts to control the environment. There are arguments against moving from the internally focused and stability-orientated perspective. Moving to the adaptive side of the matrix reduces the effectiveness of the organisation by diffusing decision-making power. The organisation becomes inundated with multiple perspectives and no clear direction, reducing its competitive efficiency. Recommendations for implementing the above changes. Implementing the above changes requires a holistic approach that has an overarching view of the organisation. Taking this perspective allows significant organisational change to be effectively implemented. Methods for implementing new ethical values through an organisation include values-based leadership, formal structure and systems, and disclosure mechanisms. Utilising these methods to promote a strong ethical culture enables organisations to effectively flatten their hierarchies and empower employees across the organisation without fear of the delegation of authority and control becoming detrimental to the operational efficiency and profitability. Moving from a mechanistic environment where employees feel like cogs in a machine to a more organic operating environment facilitates buy-in from employees who feel they have a true impact on outcomes. Combining positive ethical change with the empowerment of employees can create significant positive change for an organisation. Corporate social responsibility refers to how organisations contribute to the welfare of the broader society. Design change related to external relationships with suppliers is a key to Bunnings' sustainability focus. Applying a CSR perspective to their supplier relationships, Bunnings creates a deeper insight into how their organisations affect key stakeholders. Bunnings holds a powerful near monopolistic position in the hardware retail market. That power establishes expected standards of its supply chain partners, which can generate enormous positive or negative impact. Bunnings can drive environmentally detrimental practices from its suppliers when pushing for the lowest pricing on products. From its leading position in the Australian market, Bunnings can also drive positive environmental impact across a range of areas. Retail hardware is known for being associated with some of the largest polluting industries. These industries range from chemical manufacturers to timber suppliers and industrial machinery. Bunnings can require minimum standards related to the environment and organisational practices of its suppliers across a wide range of areas. There has been significant backlash from smaller suppliers who argue that major retailers are taking advantage of their position with unfair trade practices. Regulatory stakeholders may take punitive action against the organisation for unfair trade practices. Preventing such action from occurring and developing positive reputation among its supplier stakeholders will safeguard the reputation of the Bunnings brand and help maintain its position as a retailer of choice within the hardware market. It is also recommended that Bunnings' traditional approach to its partnership change is in line with today's trend of moving from an adversarial perspective to a collaborative one, where partnerships are developed with the key stakeholders rather than simply pushing for the highest possible margins from operations. Strategic alliances that move beyond a transactional level to a collaborative one can enhance the organization's workforce and opportunities in other markets that were previously unavailable when relationships with other organizations were adversarial. It is now understood that long-term value generation can only be achieved through a collaborative partnership approach. Sustainability is at the heart of long-term success for organizations. Ensuring reciprocal relationships are maintained is key to this approach. The viewpoint of maximizing profit margins in a zero-sum game has been shown to erode value over the long term. The traditional profit motive is no longer seen as a sustainable method of operating in today's business environment. The triple bottom line is recommended as a driver of the changes outlined. It is an accounting framework that comprises of social and environmental and financial measures to come to a clearer understanding of an organization's impact. Brief accounts of the potential impact of these changes on the organization's short-term versus long-term performance. The short-term impact of implementing these changes will see a negative initial result from the financial perspective, as hardline profit maximizing strategies are unwound and redirected into the sustainable approach that has been recommended. Short-term expectations for organizations with shareholders that demand minimum consistent growth makes selling this new perspective difficult. However, the intangible benefits and the implementation of broader measures that include key sustainability outcomes will generate medium to long-term value growth that would not have been realized or achievable prior to the proposed changes.